audio as well as the video. Yeah, without further ado, I think the next team will be team number 35, Problem Solved. And we have Lisa on the line, on the call. Yep, with us today. Hello.
Is it possible to give the rest of my teammates bring them on stage? Yes.
Okay, sure.
Sure. Yeah.
All 6 of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give
Will
us a
they be
second.
presenting as well, or are they?
It will just be me presenting, but Rama will be sharing screen. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Should I share screen now? Or?
Yeah, you can
Yes,
actually have-
please go ahead to test out your share screen. Do give us a few more moments as we allow our steering committee to rejoin us.
Sure.
Will you all be sharing audio as well, or no audio?
No audio.
Okay, sounds good. Rama, everything okay on your end? Yeah, you're muted, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, everything is okay on my end. So
Okay.
I can just.
Yep, sounds good.
presenting.
You can start sharing the screen now. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Wait, Rama, I don't think your screen is showing.
Yep, I'm not able to see it as well.
Share screen.
Perhaps one of your team member can serve as a backup, just in case.
Can see now?
Yeah, actually can.
Yes, you can see now. Yeah.
Sick.
The presentation slide is there, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, maybe we'll give our judges one final minute. We'll start at 1:32 sharp.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Yep, in the meantime, just to reiterate, I mean, if you can see the chat, during your presentation, when there's 5 minutes left, I will send a message there, as well as when there's only 1 minute left. The same goes for Q&A. When there's 7 minutes left, I'll send a chat as well as when there are 2 minutes left. So be sure to look out for it when you're presenting. Okay, with that, it's now 1:32, and I'll just start timing when you're ready. Yep.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna start already. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisa, and today, as the CEO, I am representing my group Problem Solved in presenting our solution, Kiowa. Kiowa is a plugin that aims to supplement outpatient osteoarthritis care. But before I go into the details, here's an introduction to osteoarthritis, or OA in short. It refers to the wearing of the cartilage between joints, and it is incurable. On top of the increasing the risk of falling and removing 2 out of 6 activities of daily living, 1 in 5 patients with OA also experience symptoms of depression and anxiety. On top of that, OA is also a burden to the economy. It has cost the United States 300 billion to date and Italy 3 billion a year. If we take a look at Singapore here, it is estimated that OA costs 200 million a year, and this is likely to increase. So, a reason OA is so costly could be due to the high cost of the late-stage treatments that mostly consist of surgeries and injections. We therefore wanted to start implementing our solution as early as possible and decided it would be easiest to go with patients that have stage 2 OA. Our solution hence focuses on conservative treatments such as weight loss programs and focused exercises such as physiotherapy, which are proven to be more effective and are also non-invasive. Following this, we went to find out what solutions are currently available in the market, and we found Kimia and Apos Health. After doing a little bit more research, we realized that these solutions are not widely adopted in the market. Kimia is not popular among patients as it is a standalone application and only focuses on knee-related problems, while Apos Health is too complicated and has little evidence to back it up. We know that Apos Health has approached Changi General Hospital and was turned down. With this, we went back to the stakeholders to identify their pain points so as to serve them better. We grouped them into 3 main groups: patients, healthcare providers, and government and insurance agencies. From OA patients, we learned that new devices are often complex to use, which makes them technologically resistant. Physiotherapy exercises are also boring, as it makes that as to them, right, it's often only like them and their therapist, especially if it's at a center. So this problem resonated with healthcare providers as they found it difficult to ensure that the patients are compliant and stick to the exercises, which is actually why it's crucial to slowing down the effects of OA. On top of that, patients also turn to alternative treatments such as acupuncture, which are not proven and not as effective. Government boards and insurance agencies all highlight a lack of consistent data sets and not having widespread adoption of the same solutions. So after gathering all these pain points, our group sat together to brainstorm on the various healthcare issues and we developed Kiowa. Kiowa is an OA-specific health data gateway plugin to supplement outpatient care support. We eventually aim to integrate with the Health Promotion Board's Healthy 365 application. And if you are not very sure of it, it's basically an application found in 20% of Singaporean smartphones, and it has national healthcare challenges to encourage healthy living. This plugin will contain 3 features. So firstly, we have the GLAD exercises, which are proven to reduce the worsening of OA in patients. They are also practiced in hospitals in Singapore. Secondly, we have data-driven supervision, where algorithms track the accuracy of exercises performed by the patients. Thirdly, a social feature that allows users to share their progress on social media platforms such as Facebook and WhatsApp to allow these users to interact with each other and also add in a little bit of that competitive spirit to make these exercises more fun. If they choose, they may also video call with each other so they can do the exercises together in real time. Kiowa essentially works based on data algorithms. So the fitness tracker contains an accelerometer and gyroscope, and it will be attached to a joint. Movement data is collected during the guided exercises. This data will be fed into a machine learning algorithm that can generate outputs such as the accuracy of movements. There will be feedback. This will be feedback that will be sent to the users via the plugin, and at the end of these exercises, the data metrics will be sent to 2 different parties. So we have HPB, who will be getting the patient data and other health-related metadata, and insurance companies that would get risk analytics and compliance data, which could help them with their pricing their premiums. So I know this is quite a long phrase, right? So what is this risk analytics compliance data? Essentially, this will be the exercise data from the tracker worn by the OA patient. This data will show the correctness of the exercise as well as the compliance to the physiotherapy routine by the patient. Insurance companies can identify policyholders who have a high correctness of exercise and a high compliance rate to reward them by reducing their premiums. So an example of this currently happening would be the AIA Vitality app, which gives these rewards out for like general fitness. So by providing incentives, right, insurance companies could avoid paying large payouts if the OA diagnosed policyholder's condition does not deteriorate, and they will not require an expensive medical treatment such as surgery, which is usually borne by insurance companies. On the other hand, Kiowa could also be powered by the ElderShield Life benefits, where patients can withdraw a monthly stipend as OA would fulfill the ADL criteria. As we designed Kiowa, our aim was to assimilate into the patient care journey of the typical OA patient through a 5-step process. So upon an assessment to understand their vulnerabilities, users would be issued a fitness tracker. After signing up for Kiowa's monthly subscription, insurance policies can ensue, and the user can enjoy the features of our product ecosystem. So as you can see here, right, there are some words that are in blue. So these show the revenue streams where our team can retrieve revenue from using our Kiowa plugin. So with this journey, we spent the last 2 weeks validating our product with as many stakeholders as we could find. So I'll just kind of talk you through some of these like logos. I know there are quite a few. So in the healthcare scene, right, we spoke to clinicians, physiotherapists, program providers, and nursing homes to ensure that our technology and exercises would be 1, effective, as well as 2, feasible. We then spoke to insurance agencies, hospitals, and patients to get their buy-ins, and they have more or less soft validated our product. Lastly, we spoke to HPB and the Smart Nation office, which is where the Healthy 365 app sits, to ensure alignment of Kiowa with the national agenda, which could accelerate the integration of Kiowa's plugin. So these stakeholders like 4 aspects of our solution: the low learning curve, its cost efficiency, the backing by evidence and its effectiveness for reducing OA effects, and finally, its ability to integrate all the stakeholders into one single platform. With this, we designed our go-to-market strategies, which are to establish distribution channels at hospitals upon OA diagnosis, partner with insurance agencies, and also collaborate on nationwide events such as the National Steps Challenge, but we want to add our own OA twist to it. This will provide us with an outreach to almost 30% of the population, of which 90% are at risk of OA. With a pricing model of just 20 cents per day, we are set for profitability of $4.5 million in revenue in about 5 years, just based on the subscription revenue alone. However, with our diversified revenue streams mentioned earlier, we do expect Kiowa to eventually bring in even higher revenues. So if we want to look beyond Singapore, we realize that many other countries such as Japan, China, and European countries experience aging populations as well. This is important because knee OA affects 40% of elderly patients globally. I would like to also draw our attention to China, which has a huge adoption of health tech solutions and has about 250 million people aged 65 and above. Hospitals in 3 states of China are also already using the GLAD program, which we believe may help us. So if there's one thing I would like to end off with, right, we don't want to leave our elderly behind just because they cannot use technology. So we are a patient-centric company with an objective to improve OA outcomes. We adopt data-driven technologies to accomplish that objective. While it may not seem all that sophisticated, we want to use what is already available and known to everyone to encourage adoption among our main users, the elderly. After all, we believe that through our solution in slowing OA, we might be able to help these users enhance their ADLs in the long run. So we are quite proud to have 5 advisors on board, lending us their medical, technological, business, and law expertise. Of course, the team behind Kiowa is also a multidisciplinary team with technological track records and expertise to bring this solution to the market. With that, thank you so much, and we present to you Kiowa from Team 35. There's a QR code here, which is for you in case you would like to have an idea of what the application plugin would look like. Thank you.
Thank you, team. We'll now hand over the time to the judges for Q&A.
Yeah, we will now give the judges a bit of time to type in their questions. Meanwhile, please, as our team has shown their prototype on the stage, please feel free to take a look as well. Okay, it seems like we have a question from Dr. Agatha. She would like to ask how will your team approach the 365 app to allow your plugin to be added?
Hi. So I think I'll take a first jab at this question. I think my members feel free to come in whenever it's appropriate. So hi, Dr. Agata. So on the Healthy 365 app, as we said earlier, it sits in the Smart Nation Singapore office. So one of the most important thing about the Smart Nation office is that there's a lot of like different like red tips and whatnot that we have set in. So we actually spoke to people at the Smart Nation office, and we actually asked them about like what are the necessary adoption methods for us to get into the Healthy 365 app. So actually one of the most important things that Healthy 365 would like to see is really about buy-in from the group, the medical group itself. Then that's where we will be looking at like, can we actually attach ourselves to NUHS groups of apps, or even like SingHealth group of apps. And from what we have seen, that's why we actually want to go with the first 4 hospitals where it's all under the SingHealth group. And that's also because they do have outpatient support in terms of the applications as well. And that's why we would like to test out our plugin first. And once we can see that those gain traction, then that's where we actually can move on to the Healthy 365. And the Smart Nation office will actually be quite happy to see upon seeing traction as well. So at the same time, we are also trying to, because after all, ours is a plugin. So ultimately that's what we can also do with the insurance apps as well. And that's something that we'd like to test it on. Hope that answers your question.
All right, thank you for your response. On that note, we actually have a related question from Dr. Mayank. Dr. Mayank would like to ask, why can't 365 or other apps do this by themselves?
Thanks, Dr. Mayang. I think that's a great question. So why can't Healthy 365 do this themselves? So a few reasons why. So first of all, of course, Healthy 365 after all, it's actually a national steps challenge app. It's an app that encourages exercises. But however, now what we are trying to do is we are actually trying to have people with focused exercises. That in the OA scene, right, what is actually very important is about that people need to go through very, very focused exercises, and that needs to come with a few things. Number one, assessments need to be done. So where exactly your OA occur? Is it your knee? Is it your hip? Is it your wrist? It might even be your elbow and things like that. That's where the specific joints are very important in the assessment part. And upon that, then that's where we would like you to actually attach a fitness tracker along with it. And what that happens is that then we will pass you that set of exercise specific to your OA needs. So currently Healthy 365 is a really just a widespread nationwide app that can be used for anyone, because it's for the government to actually push through a national agenda to encourage exercising. So this new plugin is really only for OA patients or people at risk of OA patients. So that's at risk of OA. So that's where it's a more specific plugin. Yes, Healthy 365 can do it, but there will need to be a lot of medical, advisory and whatnot, and that's something that what we really want to make sure that happen within the plugin itself. And that's something that Healthy 365 will take quite a while to gain. And with our validation from our last 2 weeks and a lot of our advisors sitting on our board, that's where I think we can get a forced a kickstart in this. Yeah.
All right, Dr. Mayan, hope that addresses your question. Now, I think we can move on to a question, actually 2 questions from Dr. Jasmine Teo. first question would be, will all OA patients have the same exercise regime? And also regarding the ethical concerns for risk analytics and insurance premium pricing approach.
So thank you for your question, Dr. Jasmine Chiu. I can actually answer the first question, and then maybe Kok Chong can come in for the second part. So with regards to like exercise regime, currently what we're trying to look for is, we sought for two programs, the GLAD program, which is kind of like a structured program for hip and knee, to target hip and knee osteoarthritis. And the second one is the OAK program in like US, I think. And so basically, the thing is that the exercises can be tailored based on the patient's condition, based on the assessment. From what we understand, speaking to physiotherapists at CGH, there can be a mix of like open chain and closed chain kinematic exercises based on the level of osteoarthritis development in the patient itself. Yeah. So long story short, it can be tailored to them.
Great. So I wouldn't want to waste more time. Let me answer Dr. Jasmine's question and Mr. Teo's question. So at one go, one of the most important things that what we are really trying to do here is so when we are talking about ethical concerns of the risk analytics and insurance premium, I think that's yes, of course there might be ethical issues and whatnot, but at the same time, I think it's also fair for it's also fair for the patients to actually have this kind of like insurance analytics, risk analytics, because ultimately it's about accuracy in pricing. So of course, if we know that there is this kind of like premium pricing, and currently from what we understand from the insurance agency side is that people do not understand what is the best way to actually accurately price OA symptoms and things like that. So of course, this will actually need to be included under several policies that insurance already have currently. But however, the pricing of it is still something that's very important. As we all know, like in insurance itself, pricing is always about like the percentage of possibilities of this happening and there. So the best way to actually have this kind of pricing is actually to have that kind of data. Yes, in terms of collection of data, that might be an ethical concern, but in terms of like in the business model sense, I think that's where the ethical concerns might be eroded, because ultimately what is really important is that we want to have eyes and ears on the ground so that we can actually know the possibilities and the better understanding of what exactly is the risk and what exactly will be possibilities of OA happening within this specific population size. So on top of that, I think we would like to actually address Mr. Teo's question about what are you using existing commercial or newly developed smartwatches, and what are the differences of the data that you have collected comparing to competitors' apps? So I would like to refer back to the screen that we had previously in terms of our smartwatches and smart devices that we are actually tapping on. So we will only actually approve those that have accelerometers and gyroscopes, because these are the ones that actually will help us understand the movement data a lot better. That's why we will be understanding their speed of movement, we will be understanding their differences in how they are moving, and then that's why we will come out with our accuracy scores. So the differences in the data that we collect is really very specific to the movement itself. We want to make sure that people are following the focus exercises that they already have, and that's something that it's a bit different from what current other apps are actually collecting for now. Yeah. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much for the response, Mr. Teo and Dr. Jasmine. I hope that addresses your question. I think we can take a slight step back to Dr. Mary's question on Healthy 365 again. So what's the real uptake of this app in Singapore, and are OA patients already enrolled in this Healthy 365 app?
So thank you, Dr. Marikan. I would like to answer this question. So with regards to the uptake of Healthy 365 in Singapore amongst elderly, there was a press release by Straits Times that said that in 2018, about 140,000 elderly aged 60 and above are participants in the National Steps Challenge within Healthy 365. So if we take a ratio, currently there are about 880,000 elderly in Singapore. So it's about 1 in 8 of the elderly currently participating in this Healthy 365 National Steps Challenge. With regards to OA patients specifically, I think that data we are not sure of yet. But yeah, maybe we should really look into it, to find out more.
All right. Thank you for the response. We have a question from Dr. Lee Pin Peng. How would you encourage the typical non-compliant users to adopt your solutions, especially if they realize missing their exercises may increase their premiums?
Dr. Lee, that's a very good question. So I think how we would like to break down this question is that, first of all, there are non-compliant users of Healthy 365, right? And these non-compliant users are already not using like kind of like exercises, and those people are already not going for the physiotherapists and whatnot. So there are a few ways that we are actually encouraging this entire thing. So of course, how our app works is always about, you know, the typical how app normally have in terms of like attraction, retention, and lastly, like let's say if they are falling off, what is then is a good carrot for them to come back on board. So in terms of attraction itself, what is really important is that number one, there will be incentives. There will need to be like as how Healthy 365 is, there will be a lot of incentives in terms of like NTUC vouchers or other forms of incentive that of course will be something that's relevant to them, and that's where that will be the first carrot for them to come on board. The retention comes in terms of a few ways. So of course there's a social element to it. People can actually, even like what we mentioned just now, have video calls with each other, and you know that's where people can do the OA exercises together, making OA exercises a bit more interesting and interactive as well. And the next thing that we would like to also bring out is that within the exercises itself, of course there are things that we can like throw notification to ping them and things like that. And after all, it's if it's a Healthy 365 app, of course one of the things that we have seen Healthy 365 being picked up is that family do things together, and that's where when you see, you know, everyone being under the same house, especially during this HA season, everyone's in the same house, and then that's where everyone can actually do exercises together. That's something that actually will encourage the pickup on that end. Last but not least, the last part where we are actually trying to offer the carrot before, let's say, any kind of attrition comes in and people want to drop out, that's where we have our final push, where that it's either there will be a medical professional coming and then we will provide a kind of advisory on that, and at the same time there's also a lot of like showing them and a bit of education within the app to tell them that, hey, you know, these are the risks if there's non-compliance of it. And that's very important, because then that's where we really cover the entire scope of non-compliant patients. Yeah, hope that answers your question.
Yes, I would also add, like to add the end bit about their premiums increasing if they miss the exercise. So here we won't increase the premiums if they were to miss the exercise. The incentive is really if they were to do the exercise correctly and consistently, then their premiums reduce. Yeah, that's an important point there.
All right. Thank you for all of your responses. At this point of time, we will have our last call for the SCs, for our judges. Whether you have any last questions, feel free to post in the Q&A chat.
Yep, you all have roughly 2 minutes left. If there's anything, you know, you want to add on to talk about that you have missed just now, feel free to use the time as well.
I would just like to address one more thing. So in terms of Healthy 365 adoption, right? We are seeing around like 1.1 according to like national stats lah. At the same time, 1.1 million, sorry. And at the same time, out of this 1.1 million, according to what we have found out, is that there's approximately 90% that are above the age of 40. And above the age of 40, that's where like the risk of OA is around 40% as well. So that's where I guess that really address that market that we already have, which is around like 40%. I guess that's the best way to estimate it. Yeah. So 40% of the app users will have around like risk of OA. Yeah. Yeah. Is there any other things that the team would like to add?
All right. If not, thank you all of you for your presentation and Q&A, and thank you all to our judges for the questions that are posted. So now I'll pass the time back to Benson, and we will move on to the next.
Thank you, judges.
Yeah, thank you, Suchi. Thank you, judges, and thank you, team.
Thank you.
Yep, at this point, we just invite you off the
Thank you.
stage. Thank you, good job.